Hi, my name is Amy Birnbaum, and I am a proud IU alumni. I was a music school student and really lucky to study under Dr. Baker and Dr. Mumford, both of whom were professors in the African American Studies department. And they really helped shape me into the music business professional that I am today. I am currently the Senior Director of Artist Relations and A&R at Round Hill Music, which is a music publishing company that basically publishes some of the most indelible copyrights. And I look back on my IU experience with the most tremendous amount of fondness, mostly in part because of my friendship with this person whom I'm about to interview, Jeffrey Eisner. I met him my freshman year, and I don't think a week has gone by since that time that we haven't spoken and laughed and reminisced about our time at IU. He is one of the most incredible, intellectual, hilarious, talented people I know. And all right, without further ado, Jeffrey Eisner of Pressure Luck.
Thank you. First of all, I'm like the same color now as the IU logo. Which I love this logo so much, by the way. I think it's part of the reason why I wanted to go there. I just thought it was a really cool logo. Nice shirt yourself.
Thanks, man.
Well, thanks for having me here. And it's a pleasure to be interviewed by not only my best friend, but a fellow alumni as well, who I met in college when we were freshmen. And it's just another little piece of the beautiful thing that college in the puzzle that college can do, the relationships that it forms. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself and your history at IU? Yeah.
Sure. So so when I went to IU, I majored in, I like to say I double majored, which I did. I majored in communication and culture, and in the individualized major program, also known as the IMP, which I know you did as well. And because at the time they didn't offer a musical theater major. Now I believe they do, a BFA in that, but at the time they did not. So I wanted to, you would create your own major. And it was actually kind of great because I got to choose which classes I wanted to really structure the way I felt like I could best learn musical theater. And it kind of was more unconventional. So it was a wonderful experience. I absolutely loved it. But, when I graduated from school, it wasn't really, I realized, after going to a few auditions, getting my equity card right out of school, doing children's theater, and being in an audition line with guys who are, double my age, auditioning for the same part I was, it was a little discouraging. And I was like, I don't know if this is the life I want to do. I don't know if I want to have to constantly be auditioning for things. Those who are willing to do that deserve it more than I do. But I also still always loved performing, and I would literally, you couldn't catch me dead doing community theater. I had too much pride to do that. I know that's not to go anything against it. I'm too snobby. It's me. I'm a little too snobby about it. I love community. People love doing it. Great. That's great. I couldn't do it. Either I was going to be on Broadway or that was it. Oh. I wasn't going to be on Broadway. I didn't have enough drive to audition. So I, said, what am I going to do with myself? And so I basically went into, I liked working in entertainment. I became the assistant to an actor for a couple of years, which was exciting and fun. And then I was like,
I will get you that job.
It was amazing. I got to work with a wonderful award-winning actress, Mary Louise Parker, who's a wonderful person. And she's just been, she was always so good to me. And she became family, really. But, after a few years of doing it, it was like, again, the fulfillment wasn't quite there. It was not really what I wanted to do. We're still very close, and I just love her to pieces. But I, decided I wanted to do something different. So I went to my PR route. I said, well, I have double major. Let me try working in communications now. So I started doing that, and then I started working for a big agency, and I worked as a video producer there. I got promoted to that, and I ran their video department doing branded content, which I did not enjoy at all. I did not like it, and it was debilitating a little bit because I just was, at this point I was reaching my mid-30s, and I was there for 10 years, and I'm like, this isn't what I want to be doing. What am I going to do? You're still relatively young. What will you do for the rest of your life? And that's when I discovered the Instant Pot. And I always loved cooking. I should say that at the forefront. I always loved to cook. My grandma Lil was my inspiration when I was a child for cooking. She was an old school Jewish bubby. If you don't know what that means, if you're Italian, it's the same thing as a nona. If you're from the South, it's the same thing as a gran or a meemaw. You get the gist. And she inspired me at a young age. So I said to myself, listen, Jeff, you need a creative outlet. What are you going to do to get yourself going here? What can you do? So I ended up marrying the two. I married my performance by putting myself on camera. I always felt like as a video producer and PR, I should have been in front of it, not behind it. And I married my love for cooking, learned a very popular appliance that was very new to the landscape, the kitchen landscape. Not many people knew how to use this thing, and pressure cookers from back in the day had an intimidating, tag attached to them. Like, ooh, they're gonna explode. They're scary looking, the old school stovetop ones. I wanted to show people that the Instant Pot was easy to use. From there, I made a video, said, what have you got to lose? Just put it out there. And if you build it, sometimes they will come. And they came, and then all of a sudden people make recipes. And I'm like, okay. So I started to make my own recipes. And it started as a hobby, and then literally it just took off to the point where it became my full-time career. And it's
Jeff, could you take us a bit more behind the scenes? How do you incubate this idea in your head? Kind of just say, I'm going to throw a YouTube video out there, and now create a business that's your full-time job, that's enabled you to write a best-selling cookbook. Kind of take us more into the behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think anything, when you want to try something new with yourself, first of all, you need to always tell yourself, what do I do? What can I do to make myself happy above all else? What can I truly do? Because I was a little bit, you sit there and you see these things that people say, do what you love what you do. And then when you're in a job where you're not happy, it's like, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. It's hard to believe it. It sounds nice, but that's not real. The point is, if you find a passion that you truly love, and you find a way and find an audience out there, that's something that you feel like you can actually offer them and give them some sort of product or some sort of service that they can use, great things can happen. It takes a lot of work. It takes taking it in the day and one moment at a time. Nothing will happen overnight. It's really about experimenting. I never in a million years would have thought that I would have had a YouTube following, or have this as my career, or let alone, much less, writing a cookbook that became a bestseller on multiple national lists. That's beyond surreal on every level. But when you're yourself and you are authentic and you connect with other people and you keep things very real, no fluffy stuff. Just if you listen, I could add a few fluffs here and there. I am a little fluffy. But if you just be yourself and and stay true to things that you truly want. Can I give you advice on a business model? Not really, because all this literally happens by day, and it's all about, don't think about money or anything, making it necessarily a career just yet. If it's a hobby that you have or something like that, whether you've always wanted to write something, or you've always wanted to start crafting something, whatever it is, if you feel like you have a talent for it, what have you got to lose? Take a video of yourself, or if video is not your thing, start a blog or an Instagram, whatever, put it out there, find the right groups to share these things in so they get the proper attention. And if it is meant to be, it will. Have perseverance, keep going, and you never know what might just happen. You might just end up writing a cookbook someday that's in Target.
Jeff, how do you think IU's individualized majors program to help create the building blocks for you to become an entrepreneur?
It's so weird when I hear that word, because I still don't consider myself an entrepreneur, but I guess in a way I am. It's very strange. I think it taught me a lot in the sense that I was able, even then, to customize my own courses. So it gave me very much my own freedom and reign on how I wanted to model my own, major. So that right there is a big thing. Steps of being an entrepreneur is about making decisions and making choices. And that's one of the key elements there. In college, that really, as in an IMP major, and not even just being in the IMP, but anything in college, I feel like it sets you up for making lots of decisions in life. So that was a huge stepping stone there, for sure. And, there are always going to be people in your life, no matter what, and even professors that might tell you and discourage you from even going for what your dream might be, just because they might feel that you don't necessarily have what it takes based on one person's opinion. And that can very quickly and easily deter somebody from pursuing a path. You know, there's a lot of, words are very powerful coming from somebody who can be very respected, you know, to a student. I always say, don't ever listen to that. Just don't. If you feel like you have it in you and you feel like, you know, there's a different way you can shape yourself to maybe still hold on to an element of something that you love or you studied, do it. Do it. One person's opinion of you, I don't care how long, you know, if they were established professor, if they're, you know, a parent, whoever, it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. It's about you and what you want. So that's
Do you
my
feel like were you able to establish that mindset as someone who was a 20-year-old student, perhaps hearing feedback from a professor that you wouldn't necessarily succeed in the respected, you know, career you had wanted, i.e. acting? Can you look back and talk to 20-year-old Jeffrey and try to, because I remember as a friend how discouraging that could be, and how you, again, really utilize the individualized majors program to curate a curriculum that really was able to cater to your interests, and then take you on this path of building a brand and something that has, in essence, affected really thousands upon thousands of people. I mean, I read the emails that you receive from people from all over the States, at least, who talk about how you've transformed, whether it's a moment in time, just a dinner that they were able to connect with family members, and or a loved one might have passed, and cooking one of your meals, how it just created the sense of security and happiness. Again, I speak as a proud best friend, but yeah, it's not really a question, it's a statement.
No, I think, no, I appreciate, no, but if you're asking me what I would say to myself then, yeah, I would tell myself, like, you know, listen, when I was in college, I went through a lot of trials and tribulations for sure. I came out. Yeah, I mean, we absolutely do. We really do become adults when we're in college. We're like coming out of our cocoons. I like to say when we're in high school, we're wrapping ourselves in that, you know, chrysalis. And then in college, we emerge from it. I really like analogies. Aren't they fun? Maybe I could be a poet. No, but seriously.
Yeah.
And then, so I came out of the closet when I was, you know, freshman year to my family. I lost 100 pounds after I came out of the closet through fitness and school. I mean, I yo-yoed a little
George
bit.
Foreman grill.
Back when that existed. I know in my dorm, I would literally, I don't think I was supposed to do that, but hey, I lost 100 pounds and I was very safe. I would grill chicken on my little George Foreman. But yeah, anyway, college taught me a lot. And I would say to myself, Jeffrey, just be yourself above all else. It will work out if you do. Don't worry about things too much in the moment. You know, you're going to, from here, it's just, life is a game and life is for the taking, and what you want to make of your life is what you will make of your life. And that's what I would tell myself. And it's the best advice anyone, I feel like, could tell the younger self.
And what's interesting, as an actor, you're playing a character, whereas now you're able to have the authenticity of just being you. And I think that's what's connected to so many people.
Yeah. You know,
my experience is so special, though, because I feel like I grew up in such a homogenous community, and I really wanted to kind of break away from that. Mm-hmm. And I was able to, you know, I was in the African-American gospel choir and got to really kind of submerge myself in an environment. I mean, my friends were from really like locals, right, Jeff? I mean,
yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I cherish and value that so much. And I miss just walking around Kirkwood with riding my bike and but speaking of Bloomington, there was so much diversity within, you know, the food offerings there. I remember like a little French restaurant, Italian, Tibetan, Thai.
I think that was 6th Street.
What were some of your favorite haunts at IU?
Oh, how do I answer that question? First of all, you know I love to eat, and I was always obsessed with, I always loved Trojan Horse. I just loved it. I mean, it was so fun and cute, and like I love like the darkness of the, like, you know, the wooden booths and stuff in there. Loved Bear's place.
The best.
Because let me just say a little secret. Like because I'm, gay and all, like I thought that it was for bears. Do you know what that, I probably, it's somebody, I guess, who looks like me. And I don't want to even like say that because don't like to like label, but when I went in, I'm like, oh, it's not like that at all. It's like a jazz place, which made me feel more relaxed because oh good, I don't have to really like look my best right now. And the Hairy Bear was one of my favorite drinks of all time.
Do you like it? I mean, there are a lot of ingredients.
There are, I mean, literally, I feel like there's every single thing that's in a bar is in that drink. And I have a high tolerance. So when I took a sip, like one of those, I don't blame them. Like that's it. Like that is literally, I might have ended, I think actually, I might have had one and then ended up in the Showalter fountain for a quick minute afterwards. It might have happened. So I love bears.
And we should check out and our friend Marion, who owns Rockets Pizza,
Rockets
which is slice.
Yes, Rockets is my favorite pizza at IU. Pizza Express is great and all. And who could beat that deal? I mean, but Rockets to me, I just loved Rockets so much.
I love Runcible Spoon. Do you remember that spot?
The Runcible Spoon?
Yeah.
Awesome. I loved Runcible Spoon. You know what I really love? It's not there anymore, so this is like nostalgia. I loved McCree's Deli. It was so good, and it's not there anymore. It makes me so sad. I love you, McCree's. I don't know where you are now, but I love you. They're the best mozzarella sticks.
So, all right. So sorry, I could talk
No,
about
this is great. Wait, I want to ask you, what are some of your favorite places that you use, some of your favorite haunts?
I mean, talk about like, Rockets was my home. I'd go to, was it Bluebird? What was next door?
Yeah, Bluebird was like right next to it.
I'd see a ton of music. I'd see every concert there and then get to walk over for like the greatest slice, hang out with my friend. So talk to me about, it's such an ironic time for a cookbook to come out. What does that look like in quarantine? Again, some money there with people being homes with their family, probably consuming more than ever. It's such a comfort. For me, cooking is a stress reliever. It's something I find artistic as well. So talk to me about your book that just came out and what that looks like now.
It looks like this.
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, you're doing a really good job. I want to say you're like, I feel like there's another career in you, and being like a moderator for questions, you're doing so well. Watch out, ladies of the View. Anyway, here's my cookbook, which I am beyond proud of. Listen, we don't know anything in this world. We can't predict anything. The fact that it happened to come out in the middle of a pandemic like none of us have ever lived through before is beyond surreal, and perhaps the timing for a cookbook is ideal. I mean, people are going to be cooking now more than they ever have before. So I feel like the book was released, at the right time. As a result of that, of course, there couldn't be any book signings, there couldn't be any media tours, but who cares? This is a media tour, right? I'm doing something wonderful. I'm getting to speak with my wonderful best friend and from my college, my alma mater. What more can anyone ask for? The book, writing the book was a huge labor of love. It was the most intense thing I've ever done. I'd never written a book before, a cookbook, so it's like where to start. It took me, I had to write it in the fast track. It took me I wrote the whole manuscript in about 6 to 8 weeks, which is pretty fast. And then I went into photography, which was a whole month, because the book is 100 recipes, and it's step-by-step photos of every single recipe. So each step is giving you a visual aid of representative of the step. And then every single recipe has a final product. So there's no guessing. In a lot of cookbooks, it's like a final shot every 4 recipes or something like that. And you want to know what the food's going to look like, right? That you're cooking. Like, what does it look like? Also, sometimes in cookbooks, it's stock photos. It's not actually the actual food. And so I said with my publisher, Little Brown, and Voracious is their imprint, who I published the book, when we do the book, the condition is I wanted to basically translate into my visual style of learning, and I want all the food to be made by me. I don't want somebody else making the food. I want it to look like it came from my hands. I'll have a food stylist who can make it look plate it up a little prettier than I could do, but no fake stuff, no weird, glues or anything. It has to be the food itself. That's exactly what the food is. Oh, well, there you are. And that's it. No, it's okay.
Jeff,
I missed you for a second. So that's it. The process was insanely. It was an insanely. It was strong, and it was very hectic in many ways, but it was also the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Jeff, you talk about though having a book publisher. I mean, how does that happen? How do you have a food stylist? How did this happen?
So yeah, these are excellent questions. As the following began to grow and more people happened to find out about me. I mean, again, I did tap into a niche market that was very popular. The Instant Pot became the most popular appliance in the kitchen. It's like the #1 selling product for kitchen appliances the last few years. So as a result of that, that helps spread things. When your recipes are tried and true, and then people can trust them that they'll work, they're going to share them out. So from there, book publishers start to hear about you. They're smart. They go into these Facebook communities and Reddit pages, and they scour to see, well, who's the next blogger who's going to write a good cookbook. And I had a few bogus publishers approach me, like, oh, we can give you, we're gonna, we'll be able to do this, and I'm like, well, what about pictures? Oh, we'll just use stock pictures. I'm like, bye. That's not happening. No. So while a part of me was quick to want to jump on writing a book, patience is such a virtue, and that's something that I really lack sometimes. I'm a New Yorker. I could be new. Have you seen how much I've been talking with my hands? I literally burned 100 calories just from doing this the entire time. They're actually not even my hands; they're puppet hands. No, they're my hands. And you have to be patient. Good things do come to those who wait. That saying is true in certain circumstances, and this one it happened to be. One day, Little Brown, voracious, reached out to me. I don't have an agent at the time. I didn't have a publicist. I still don't have a publicist because I don't need one, frankly. People in today's day and age, people just find you when you're online. So who needs one right now? I don't technically.
We didn't really have the technological capabilities, or were limited at the time of our, college experience to become entrepreneurs, to create these platforms.
Right.
So I'm just thinking, there are so many young people, students in particular, especially now, who you just kind of showcase this idea that you really can incubate this idea that can, in fact, turn into a thriving business. It's
You're
just
right.
amazing doing this. And what could you have done then? I mean, but that these kids are so empowered.
You couldn't be more right. Right. Well, it's funny when you look back on things, it's what we learned in school then would not be taught today. I mean, things have been changing so rapidly. Listen, when you and I were there, because me and Amy went 3 years ago, we were like, let's go to Bloomington. We're going to go in the off season during the summer because we feel way too old at this point and we don't want to, let's just have the whole place to ourselves. And I saw all these new buildings that were built. I think a good chunk of the parking lot that was by the library is now a whole, I think global studies building. It's a beautiful new building. It's next with a telecom building. It's when did this come up? It's just crazy what they did. And anyway, that's just a little tangent, but that's just a little way to show you that how things constantly evolve in schools and new things happen and come. But yes, when we were in school, there was no YouTube. Facebook didn't even exist. None of that did. There was really no social media. It was instant messenger, right? That's it. AOL, which is archaic these days. No one it's oh, if you have an AOL address, who has us?
Don't hire it.
Only our parents have them. So I'm glad I'm not that. Listen, I'm still trying to get away from my Yahoo address. Okay. So maybe I'm a little bit ancient myself, but it's right. You're right. So it's the world, I feel is a student's oyster, especially today. And they're learning things on how to market themselves in ways we didn't have to. So anyone who's doing this, we're kind of navigating it ourselves. So it's, so no matter what, the point is, no matter what you major in, no matter what you're taught in school in 20 years, oh my gosh, we graduated 17 years ago, actually. It's going to change. And there's going to be things you're still going to have to teach yourself after school. There's only so much you can learn in a certain bracket of time before it does eventually become obsolete in a way. You know what I mean? So you have to always stay on top of the curves and learn things yourself. I mean, we all became social media experts on our own by learning. So listen, if I can go back in time and be a student right now, yeah, I would love to, because I'll learn things now that I didn't know then. So.
Right. I mean, a lot of what we did learn, I don't want to necessarily say it's obsolete, but what was most important, at least my experience at the music school, and I'm sure something that you kind of grew into as you matured at school. But again, talking about authenticity and some of the lessons you learn in college that were not necessarily tied to the school itself, but just during that 4-year period of growth, of maturity, of development, just developing skills that enable you to have self-confidence, that create a sense of motivation, a spark. Certain things can't be taught, and you've always kind of had that spark. But the importance of, I mean, you have all these facilities to kind of create these businesses, sure, but at the end of the day, you have to be a self-starter. You have to be self-motivated. You have to be your own agent, your own manager, your own publicist, which are all the things that you've taught yourself through your experiences. Again, not something taught in class per se, but something that we, I'm sure, learned while we were independent students.
No, and you are a prime example of that yourself. I mean, you are I know when you graduate, I think a lot of us when we were in college, we don't truly sometimes pursue, unless you're pre-med or pre-law, you know what I mean? A lot of the times it's a major, and then you figure things out when you leave the nest and you begin to fly, and you're going to sometimes hit the floor. And you have to have that drive. You can't give up. You know this. And I know you, Amy, you've also been through, it's very similar to my story, a bunch of different career choices before you landed on the one that you truly loved. And you were able to utilize from the things that you learned through your own IMP that you curated for your own education, from all the music that you learned, I mean, music is in your blood. You've always, I think, like, if there's any word to describe Amy, it's music. So, I mean, you found a way to tap into that world and to be incredibly successful, and maybe not necessarily when you were a student at the time, a medium that you might have been working in music, but one that's incredibly important. And, you know, I mean, you've taken, I'm assuming, a lot of your skills, right, that you've learned in school to get there. And you, from not just in the music industry, but other previous gigs you did leading up to where you are today. But I feel like one thing that we do know is that we luckily went to a university that gave us such wonderful freedom to and choice to discover, you know, not only what we wanted to, you know, do with ourselves, to learn different things, but to discover who we were as a person. I felt comfortable enough at IU, being, you know, from a very different culture, being, you and I were both from Long Island, New York, which is very different from growing, you know, in Indiana, you know, in Bloomington. And what a wonderful change it was. It really taught me a lot. It opened my eyes, it opened my ears to a whole new group of people that I wouldn't really probably have met otherwise until after college, possibly, when I entered the workforce. But I got, you know, meeting all these new, like when I was in the Singing Hoosiers when I was a freshman, I got to meet, you know, it's funny because that group is, you know, it's very renowned. And I always loved singing in chorale and stuff in high school and chorus, whatever. But I was never in a show choir before. And I feel like by saying it's a show choir, I can get yelled at, because I feel like the director at the time was like, this isn't a show choir, but when you're doing steps on a riser, to me, I didn't do stuff like that when I was in chorus, and I'm a terrible dancer. So, but at the same time, I felt like I was part of this like family so I understand when I watch shows like Glee, like, oh, I get it. Like I understand like the camaraderie of a group like that. Whereas if I didn't go to IU and it wasn't an experience like that, I probably would have never been able to relate to that. So going to school in a different place from where you're from, it really does open your mind and show you there's a lot more outside of the bubble that you grew up in.
Jeff, do you have a dish that's most personal to you?
My grandma Lil stuffed cabbage, because she's my you know, she's my inspiration to cook. And in my book, because it's a little involved to do rolled stuffed cabbage, I decided to instead change it up so we could just make it very simply into a cabbage stew. So we basically are just chopping up the cabbage and leaving the meat in there, and it's in this delicious, wonderful tomato-based sweet and sour like broth that's to die for delicious, with meat adorned with meat and rice and cabbage. And who could ask for anything more, right? So
I know I want to let you revel in this moment with, you know, this cookbook doing as well as it has, and again, just this influx of so many, you know, followers who are really not just influenced, but affected by your videos. But what's next?
You know what, the answer to that question is, I don't know. And I don't think any of us do right now, and I also, I'm just going to, what's next is I'm just going to continue doing what I do one day at a time. I'm never going to think more than a week out. I'm always going to take it just 7 days ahead. And honestly, that's been the best advice I could ever do for myself. As someone who's a planner and it can be very anxious about things, if there's anything that's what's been currently going on with the world that we live in has taught me, is you can't always guarantee on a plan. It's not always going to work out. So what's next for me is to just live in the moment, continue doing what I'm doing, maybe write another book, and just count my blessings, and to say how lucky and fortunate I am to be in a career that I made myself. I built from the ground up using the skills that a lot of them as a foundation in college, and just being happy for the very first time in my career. And that's what gives me the most, that's what lets me sleep easy at night, is knowing those things, really. So.
Well, I am so proud of you. And again, my IU experience was truly shaped with you, by you, having that friendship just really solidified, what you mean to me, and seeing how you are affecting other people. I mean, I knew these things about you, but being able to see you just shine. And it wasn't necessarily in the way when you entered college. I mean, I think you thought you'd be a performer, hopefully. But to just show you again that through perseverance and dedication and trial and error, if you do what you love, you will hopefully be successful. And you are a shining example of that. So,
as are you, my dear. Thank you very much. That means a lot. And I have to agree with you. I think not just me, I'm talking about in general. So, but I love you to pieces. I love you
so much, and I'm so proud of you. And any last comments, statements?
I want to personally thank the amazing Eric Hafner from the IU Alumni Association for putting this together. I knew him back in school. He's a great guy. And again, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I mean, the fact that he's now an employee at IU must show you how amazing IU is. So. I want to thank him as well, and for putting this together. Let's do it again sometime. I mean, I know that you and now the thing is, both Amy and I have significant others. It would be nice. I feel like the four of us, before we ended up taking a trip out to Bloomington together, and just have a great time and get to show our others where we came from. They're gonna love it, and go and have a great meal at Trojan Horse again. Why don't we?
Well, I love you, Jeffrey, and I truly hope that one day we could retire and live in Bloomington. And well, I love you. I'm proud of you, and congratulations on all your success. And
likewise to you.
You.
You. Take care.